Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Bloomy Brain podcast, where you come to water and nourish your brain, in turn seeing your mind, body, and spirit bloom. Today, I have a very special guest. Everybody give a warm welcome to Anthony.
Hey, guys. Happy to be here.
So, how are you today, Anthony? What have you been up to?
I'm doing really well. I finished a commercial pretty late last night downtown. It was a good time. Definitely some hard work went into that though, but feeling well rested. Did a little bit of exercise this morning and
Nice.
I've been feeling good.
What did you do for exercise?
I went for a run.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Love a good run.
Greenfield Lake.
Oh, I love running around the lake. It's literally so green over there. It's beautiful.
So nice. Yeah.
Well, why don't you go ahead and tell the audience a little bit about what you do,
Sure.
and then we'll get into how we met.
Sure, absolutely. So for the past 2 years now, I've been working in a department of film and television called the Locations Department. Basically, what we're responsible for is finding all of the locations that we film at. So a couple things I've done. I've worked for Fox. I've worked for Fox Searchlight. I've worked for Hulu. I've worked for Stars. And basically what happens is we get the scripts from directors, producers, etc., and we are responsible for reading the scripts and then finding locations that we can either turn into specific places in the script or that already look like that. And then we're responsible for kind of negotiating contracts between homeowners and the studio and so that we can use their spaces.
Yeah. Your work is just beyond intriguing to me. I feel like I say that to you every time. And I know we just met recently, but we've had encounters where we've been in the same environment.
Yeah.
And then that was kind of what brought us together when we did officially meet. And I mean, many facets about your work intrigue me in a sense of like, you know, you just were one of the set scouts for the show George and Tammy.
Sure.
I did background work on George and Tammy.
Mm-hmm.
And when I finally got to watch the show, I never in a million years, you shared with me the window scene, the chair through the window scene, that wasn't the actual house. So how does that work with some of the people? Of course.
So basically the homeowners, what we told them was that we were going to make basically a carbon copy, a direct copy of their window, their back window. Mm-hmm. And we put all the panes in, we did all of that, and we used something called breakaway glass. So basically it's a thin, brittle plastic that shatters very lightly. So basically what they did, they scored a bunch of the structures on the actual window panes themselves and weakened them. And we had 3 panes to go through, and Michael took the chair on the first one and threw it through, and it was perfect. It was perfect. So.
Oh my gosh, that scene was just so intense.
So good.
The fact that you got to be there behind the creative process of things. I mean, you literally were one of the visionaries in the creative process of that scene, which is just so cool. I mean, you truly must be so proud of yourself.
Yeah, extremely proud, and extremely proud of, you know, my big bosses and my entire crew. I work with a great crew of people that for the past 2 years that I can't say, you know, anything bad about. They're just incredible people, and it truly is a team effort from the biggest thing to the smallest problem. We get through it together, and at the end of the day, this is what draws me to film is I get to see my work, and I get to see people enjoy it, and I get to see people win awards, and I get to see people, you know, talk about it. That's what got me into film, is the main, you know, when I go and I watch something, the feelings that I feel from that, and the experiences and the memories that film kind of brings for me is kind of my draw to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, would you say that you are someone that has a heightened amount of patience? Because I feel like having to wait for the project to be out can be grueling at times when you just are so ready to see it.
Of course. Patience plays a huge, you know, part in it on set as well as waiting for the project to come out. Obviously, before anybody knows that it's filming in town, we know that it's filming in town because we're working on it already.
Exclusive.
So for up to a month or two before, our team is already working on it, getting these locations knocked out, writing negotiations and stuff like that. So it's a lot of hush hush before the media gets to it, and the town is kind of ready and knows what's going on. But then, of course, patience on set. A lot of there's 150 people sometimes going crazy, asking a million questions at once, and it can be a lot. So a lot of deep breaths and centering myself. But then, as far as waiting for it to come out, we all know that Wilmington is great, North Carolina is great in general, because we just have an amazing film, presence, and we're all so talented here. Like some of the greatest movies ever have been made in Wilmington.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So it's more of an excitement thing than I have to be patient and wait. But yeah, the excitement gets to us sometimes. We're like, we can't wait for people to see this. We can't wait for people to see that. So
well, I like how you put that. That's very well put. And I also like that you describe your work environment just, with all positivity. You have nothing bad to say. You have an immense amount of respect for everyone that you work with. And as far as the process of your work, excluding the final project, because I'm sure that would be just so easy to say that is your very favorite part of it all, getting to see the product. Yeah. So excluding that, what is your favorite, part of the process, step or phase of the process?
Okay, so that's so hard because it's always so cool. But my favorite part of the process is seeing how actors perceive scripts. I think that's really cool.
Ooh, so not even about, that's so cool. Yeah. I thought that this would be like an answer about your involvement in the favorite part. So that's so cool to see that your favorite part.
That is my coolest thing, because we read the scripts obviously and we think of these actors as in a specific role, acting a specific way, and then we see these actors come in and try different variations or what they perceive the character to be, and I find that extremely interesting. But as far as my personal favorite part, it would have to be on, especially when we're working with homeowners and we're working in businesses and stuff like that, and we have big stunt days. Yeah. Big stunt days when the homeowners can come out and watch, and we're like, okay, now we're going to drive a car through your building. Are you ready? So those are my favorite days. And also just seeing the excitement of not only, the homeowners and stuff that we work with, but also the people that come out to watch us film. Yeah. It's really cool. We see it every day. So it's cool for us, but it's really cool to have other people come out and be excited. And, it's a huge draw for Wilmington. So
what would you say the most outlandish request you have ever gotten from a homeowner when negotiating a contract would be?
Oh my gosh. That is so hard. So
you're like, I've gotten so many.
So we've had requests for people to keep, so obviously when we're filming in somebody's house, they're not living there, right? Mm-hmm. So, but we have had requests for people to leave their pets there. So then I become a pet wrangler, basically. So we've had houses where there's zoos of animals in there, and we're like, okay, make sure the snake doesn't get out, or make sure the cat doesn't get out, or make sure the dogs don't get out. And so we've had instances where animals have almost escaped outside, and we're running around
into the oblivion.
And then my favorite one though is on this last project that I just did, was called it's actually the Supremes at Earl's All You Can Eat Cafe, and that was for Hulu. And we had this scene at St. Andrew's Church downtown where they wanted this guy to be, we made it into a college, and this guy was a bird, an anthologist, I think they call it, or something like that, studied birds. So we had a bunch of finches and parakeets and a bunch of other birds in there, and we had a bird wrangler, and basically we're in there rehearsing in this room, and the guy was not the maintenance guy of the church, was like, okay, make sure these birds don't get out. Just make sure the birds don't get out. Oh, and we're sitting there rehearsing with the cast, and I'm like, guys. And they're like, what? We're rehearsing. I'm like, the birds are out.
Like out of the building?
So all of the birds got out of the cages and were flying all around the building and like smacking actors in faces.
Oh my God.
Feathers everywhere.
Did they get to be a part of the film?
They did get to be a part of the film, not in that capacity.
Okay.
Not in that capacity. And then we had to go around. The bird wrangler came in with a net and was like you would like catch a butterfly. It was like in there trying to catch the birds.
So he just really they just really escaped.
The birds just escaped. One of them opened up the latch that wasn't closed properly and just let all of his little buddies out.
They're like, now's our chance.
They're now's our chance. They're like, shut every door. Right. Like we were counting birds, and it was crazy.
They're like, we're sick of captivity. Let us free.
Let us free.
That is so cool. Now, did you pick that particular location?
So that was my boss. My big boss. His name is Brooke Barnhill. She's been doing this since One Tree Hill, where she started off One Tree Hill in Dawson's Creek. So she chose that mainly. So my two big bosses come in before the majority of us come in. So a lot of times, a lot of the locations are already picked, and then we're kind of responsible for the tail end of production. So it's kind of a even keel. We kind of split it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I feel like we just kind of got right into it. So without further ado, we can tell the audience a little bit about how we met.
Of course. Let's do it.
So it's kind of funny, you guys. We had been around each other numerous times before ever even formally meeting, but my class one evening invited me to karaoke night, and you at Mad Cats.
At Mad Cats.
And you happened to be there, and at a particular point, you came up to me, and what were your words again?
I said, oh my God, I don't think I said you looked familiar, but I do remember saying, oh my God, you look like this actress I just worked with.
And I was like, who did you just work with?
And I showed her, and it was Jessica Chastain, because we had just worked together on George and Tammy, and then we rekindled the fact that you were in it.
Made that connection. Yeah. So that was so funny, and I kind of almost had a feeling that he would be saying Jessica. I feel like I hear you say Jess because you've been around her so much, and now I'm just like Jess. Jessica Chastain. Yeah. And I told him, thank you so much. She's so beautiful and incredible and influential. She's a huge inspiration of mine. I mean, she is just a powerhouse of a female boss. I have so much respect for her. So that just was the coolest thing, that, you really got to work very closely with her. And I shared my story with you of, I guess this was shortly before production started at the end of 2021. I was watching 9 Perfect Strangers, and with Michael Shannon. And the scene where he had the it was like the alarm clock was going off, and he has like this mental break because he is on, I believe it was like a concoction of psilocybin and a couple of other things, really making him kind of reconcile and come to with the day that he lost his son to suicide. Yeah. And seeing him have that break, it really hit home for me, because I also lost my father to suicide, as I shared with you.
Of course.
And when I saw that scene particularly, it just really, really hit home, because I shared a similar experience, not an alarm clock that I slept through. I actually slept through my dad's last ever call to me. And when I woke up that morning, I saw missed call and text message. So naturally, I don't know if anyone else does this, but like if I see someone has texted me and given me a missed call,
you're like, huh?
Yeah, I just am kind of like, oh, let me see what the text says real quick, because maybe they just like texted what they called me about. And it just was a sweet message. Hey, love you, just checking in. And we actually, I'm a firm believer in everything happens for a reason. And even though I want to kick myself for not answering the call, some of those last messages we had to one another are just some of the most prominent, beautiful messages we had ever shared. He was giving me dating advice, and it was just so special. But still, I mean, it's hard for me to think about sleeping through that call. So when I watched Nine Perfect Strangers and I saw that scene and I saw that Michael Shannon took on that role, I mean, that's not just some made up role. That's the role of, you know, people that are living lives that have been through it. I'm living a life where I've been through that. And that is, you know, one of the demons that eats me alive sometimes at night or in the morning or randomly while driving or when I'm alone, when I'm maybe in a large crowd. So I said outwardly to my friend, I said, one day I'm going to meet Michael Shannon and I'm going to tell him thank you. And lo and behold, fast forward a couple of months, I had a friend that was working on the film and, she's like, you have to get on. We need more background. And I got pulled to do a private scene one night where every time Michael reset, he would reset literally like right on top of my shoulder. I mean, I could feel him breathing on me. So it was such a weird like paradigm, like out of body experience. Like, oh my God, months previously, I just said, I'm going to tell him thank you. And now here this man is like breathing on my shoulder as he resets for this scene where he was drunk in the scene and it was carried by Peanut down the hallway. So it was so crazy. And at the end of the scene, I'm the closest one to him. I'm a little bit closer to him than you and I are right now. And he's so tall. He's like towering over me. And he's just like, thank you, everybody. And I was like, thank you, Michael Shannon. And I was like, oh my God, wait, this is so weird. I mean, I wasn't specific about the context of how I would like to thank him, but how weird is that I said thank you to him.
Right.
And then you shared with me that you went on to assist him.
I did.
And just thought that he was such a cool person. And
he's super cool. First off, from that story, chills. Because I mean, out of anybody in the world, all of the thousands and thousands of actors that could have come to little old Wilmington, North Carolina, Michael Shannon, and of all people that could be standing right next to him, be you. And having that connection is so cool. And that's another reason why I love film so much. But so I did. I went to assist Michael in New Mexico on a project called Waco Waco the Aftermath, which was the second season for Amazon Prime. And I got into that because one day I was talking to Maya, who is the name of Jessica Chastain's assistant, and I asked her how she got into it. Film's all about networking. I was kind of curious as far as personal assisting went and stuff like that. And she said, you know, it's all about who you know and just making connections and stuff like that. I said, well, if I ever had the opportunity, I would absolutely love to. And a couple weeks later, I think we had maybe 2 or 3 weeks of shooting left. Maya came up to me on set and was like, hey, I was like, hey, what's up? She's like, so Jess wants to talk to you. And I was like, what? I was like, excuse me? She's like, yeah, Jessica wants to talk to you on her next break after she's done with the scene. Like, she wants you to come to the trailer. And I was like, okay. So like, of course I'm freaking out. Like I'm calling my mother. My mom's a huge Jess fan. And she's like, oh my God. So I went to the trailer and she's just sitting there in her Tammy attire and just chilling out. Iconic. And she's like a mom. She's like, hey, honey, how's it going? And I was like, this is just so crazy. But she's like, Michael's never had an assistant before. And as part of his rap gift, I would really love to, you know, kind of be in the middle of getting him an assistant for his next project. She's like, and there's nobody else that I would like to do it other than you. She's like, I love you so much. And I was like, okay. I was like, I'm freaking out. Just keep calm. I was like, okay. I was like, yeah, just, hey, yeah. So, you know, she's like, we'll get it going. We'll see. And then, so of course, like I was freaking out. I kind of calmed down. I didn't hear anything for a couple weeks, but that's typical with, you know, Jess was in music rehearsals and acting classes and singing classes and wardrobe fittings. And she had a very, very busy schedule, her and Mike both. And I had a couple separate meetings where I was called into the trailer again with Jess alone and then with Jess and Mike. And then the night that she got back after winning her Oscar for Tammy Faye, Best Actress, she called me in the trailer again and was like, this is going to happen. So she's like, we're going to try to translate this in a way where we can have you kind of start working with Michael on George and Tammy and kind of get a feel for it. And then my plan was to go to Nashville with them too when they were filming at the Ryman Auditorium.
Yeah.
But I already had a Vegas trip booked and paid for, so I was like, I can't. But so I started working with Michael a little bit on George and Tammy, and got to know him and got to know some of his family and his relationships and stuff like that. And Mike, from start to finish, an amazing professional, one of the most talented actors I've ever seen in my life. Super down to earth. Somebody, money and fame did not change him at all, which is super refreshing. Loves his family, loves his kids, will do anything for everybody, and is just a really simple man. So I absolutely enjoyed my time with him and his other team. He's obviously got managers and other people that I've conversed with and worked with actually on other projects since then.
Yeah.
He's an incredible person. It was an incredible experience. So.
Oh my goodness, I can only imagine. I mean, I'm sure that was like a total out of body experience being called in the trailer that day. Like,
yeah.
And it's so sweet to hear that you called your mom, like had to tell mom the message. How cool is that?
It's so cool.
I do want to ask you one thing,
Sure.
because I feel like this may even be a question that the audience is wondering, but you know, in life, it's extremely hard to say no to people, to things, to experiences. How did it feel like when they wanted you to do the Nashville stuff and you had the Vegas trip planned? How was that, like an easy no? Was it stressful? So
I've learned in my life, especially in the past 4 years or so, that no matter who it is, with certain exceptions, you have to give a little bit more of an explanation. But no is a complete sentence. For my own personal self, for many reasons, no is a complete sentence for me. But obviously, when I'm sitting in a trailer and Jessica is like, "Oh, hey, so tickets to the Ryman, like we'll fly you out. You can fly with us. You can do whatever," and obviously, like it was hard to say no to that because obviously I wanted to be there.
Yeah.
Had I not paid for my Vegas trip already and booked a bunch of shows and stuff like that, I totally would have gone. But surprisingly, I mean, she was super understanding. She's like, nope. She's like, that's totally fine. She said, you can start on George and Tammy for a little bit, go to Vegas, enjoy yourself. And then she's like, and we'll fly you out from Vegas to New Mexico after. So it went over very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I also think that it says a lot about you as a person and your character, just to kind of still look at these humans as literally just that, as that they are humans, and that, you know, just because of their accomplishments doesn't mean that you have to, you know, compromise your own life and your own plans and just basically almost give too much of yourself, which could then in turn turn them off to you not being your true authentic self.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's really cool.
100%. Yeah.
Now, let me just, this isn't like even on the queue, but I after hearing this story, I kind of want to know if you, like off the top of your head right now, if you could assist anyone in the entire world, who would it be? For a short period of time, like let's just say for a month. For
a short period of time, or just a month. God, that's so hard. Honestly, this is gonna sound crazy. Jennifer Coolidge.
Yes.
We were talking about that, and she's so funny. I'm
like, my God.
The gays are trying to kill me.
I love her. This White Lotus. Oh my God.
So good.
So good. And I keep seeing her clip pop up of when she's like with that super old man and she's like, you know, we just love each other so much. Sometimes we talk, other times we don't talk. God, she is just iconic. She's monumental. I freaking love her. So I second that. I would want to assist her too. I'm going to steal your answer.
Yeah.
So where would you say that you ideally want to see yourself in 10 years?
In 10 years, somewhere definitely where the weather is warmer all year.
I like that.
I'm from Boston, and the winters down here are definitely not bad, but they're still they can still get kind of chilly.
Yeah.
So I'd like to be in LA, hopefully within the next 10 years. I'd really like to be a casting director. That's kind of where I think I will find my most happiness in that aspect. So I see myself being a casting director absolutely in LA in the sunshine.
I love that.
Yeah.
You're speaking it into existence right
that's
now.
That's right. Speak it in.
This will forever be on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, YouTube. Everyone across the whole world is going to hear that
love it.
Anthony is going to be a casting director.
That's right.
What would you say the craziest, most chaotic thing that has ever happened on the job? And it doesn't even have to be with the scouting. It can be with assisting. It can be any of the, multifaceted realm of work that you're in.
The craziest thing happening on jobs, normally it doesn't have to do with us, the film crew. Normally it has to do with outside people coming in and trying to cause a ruckus to get money and all of that. We've had to call the police. We've had people threaten to, start fights. We've had people run through our sets with weapons. We've had it's crazy, and especially filming downtown, it can get kind of, especially doing our overnights and stuff like that, can get a little crazy. As far as for us work wise, a lot of times for me, it's a lot of upkeep and a lot of, like, on George and Tammy, we were filming at this house on a river, and this lady had this like super old, like pristine crushed oyster shell driveway, and she's like, do not put anything on it, like, at all. So
even a car?
One car was fine. She gave us the okay for one car, but not what we put on it. So one day, one of the electricians was driving what we call a condor, which we put big, huge lights on way high up in the air, and he drove it on the oyster shell driveway and cracked the entire thing. Her entire thing. It was like her relatives that had passed away had done it by hand, and it was super, important to her. And so we ended up having to spend a lot of money.
How did she do that? Not even the money, but oh my God, who broke it to her?
So the big boss broke it to her. And we obviously paid her a little extra on top of fixing her driveway. But these things happen. She took it better than expected, but we could tell she was definitely heartbroken. And it's hard because in our department, we deal with every single department, from hair and makeup, actors, electricians, grips, stunt people, craft services, from the biggest person to the smallest person. We're involved with all of them, and it is our job that when we are on location somewhere, that everybody is responsible and respectful and understanding of the rules that we put in place to protect not only us as a crew, but like our homeowners and our business owners. So it's a lot of times stuff slips through the cracks. I mean, there's 150, there's 200 crew members doing a bunch of stuff at the same time, and stuff unfortunately happens, but it's less. It happens less often than you would think, but when it happens, it stings,
Yeah. Yeah, well, I feel like you remain so level-headed about everything, so that's really, really, really good. Yeah. Obviously, that stinks for her, but at least you guys, compensated her and helped to comfort her through that. And at the end of the day, it's partially what you sign up for, because having hundreds of people,
of course, something's
on your
gonna
property.
Happen.
Yeah. Well, I kept hearing on George and Tammy, everyone would say, every show is a shit show, or it's not. Some quote like that.
Yeah.
So that was funny. Mm-hmm. But now, who would you say thus far in your career has been the most influential person you've had the pleasure of meeting?
So definitely for personal reasons. So obviously, this. Everybody else who's going to be watching this doesn't know. June 5th of this year, I will have, God willing, I will have 4 years clean and sober, which is really amazing. And I wouldn't have the job that I have today and know the people that I know and have the opportunities that I have had I not given up what I gave up 4 years or 3.5 years ago now. But the most influential people, I had the opportunity to work on Hightown with a couple actors that are also clean and sober, that are fairly well known. that have been on a bunch of other things as well as Hightown, and got to go to meetings with them and hang out outside of film and really talk one-on-one. And that's a special connection to have with anybody, let alone somebody who is an actor and who is super, super, super successful. As well as the creator of Hightown. She was sober as well, and we have since become really, really close friends. And that's inspirational to me, because in times when I'm like, why, I have two sides of my brain, the good side and the bad side. And the bad side sometimes creeps in and says, why are you still the way that you are? Like, why do you choose to live life the way you live it now instead of going out and partying and getting crazy? And the reason is to have the life that I have now, and
Absolutely.
to be able to have the opportunities that I have to meet people I would have never met or had the opportunity to speak with Jess about Michael. I would have never had the opportunity to go and assist Michael in New Mexico. I would have never had the opportunity to go and hang out with people that I look up to that are also clean and sober in this industry in multiple different forms, had I not, given up what I gave up.
Yeah. So. I mean, that is just so profound and so inspirational, just from anybody, to me, to anyone listening. And I think that it's really funny, because this conversation is very affirming to myself particularly as well, because I have told you I really don't enjoy drinking. I have an autoimmune condition that's in remission. It's really not good for me to drink. So seldom do I do it, but I do feel very pressured sometimes to do it. And it was actually very ironic the night that I found out that you were clean and sober, because when I was on the way to meet you guys that night, I was already scripting in my head, because it's the same way that sometimes I have to do around, maybe a big group of people I'm out at dinner with, and I'm not able to like eat the appetizers that they're eating and stuff like that. I just kind of make it very blasé, like, no, you go ahead, I'm good. So I was already like scripting out what I was going to say to you if you had offered, if you were like, oh, you're not drinking, or noticed that I wasn't. And then you were like, I'm not drinking. And I was like, oh, thank God. Yeah. And it was, and then for you to go into that conversation piece and point about, it's not even that you don't even think you would be where you are today. You say, like, I know I wouldn't be where I am today. And I just think that is so powerful within itself. And it's cool to see that it's not just like, marijuana or alcohol or any of the other drugs. It's all of them. You're like, I'm good on all of it.
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good on all of it. So I know personally for me, and there are people out there who have had alcohol problems and can use marijuana, and be fine and not drink or not do any other hard drugs or vice versa. But I know for me, anything that I put in my body that can alter the way that I think, feel, or act is no good for me.
Yeah.
Other than obviously doctor prescribed medicines and stuff like that, that's obviously totally different. But I can't just have one drink. I can't just do one drug. I can't just smoke one joint. I'm an extremist. So it's all or nothing for me, and I have to choose nothing in order to be able to live.
God, that is so powerful that you're able to sit here and be able to choose nothing when there's a world of temptation. I mean, you just have no idea how many people you will inspire with this, and already have inspired. I mean, I'm just so profoundly inspired by you, and it inspires me to continue to stay out of those things and stay out of, just an indulgent lifestyle. But I do think that it's cool that you still are able to be in a social setting without being tempted. So how is that for you? So being in a social setting, I am super comfortable going to bars now. I'm super comfortable going to family outings where people are drinking. That does not bother me anymore, but that took a long time. Yeah.
So out of the 3.5 years of my recovery, for the first 2 years, I never stepped foot in a bar. I never stepped foot in a bar. I never hung out with anybody that was a bad influence to me or that I got bad vibes from.
Yeah.
It was all about protecting myself and keeping myself in this sort of bubble and focusing on myself for the first 2.5 years, just to make sure that I was okay. and now what I do, if I feel completely comfortable going to a bar, I always will have something in my hand or something in front of me. And I like to keep it full so that people don't ask.
Yeah.
So
Smart.
and sometimes I'll switch it up. Sometimes I'll say I just don't drink. When people ask why, I'll say it's just a personal choice. Sometimes I'll tell them I'm sober if they're super curious about it. Sometimes I'll tell them I'm allergic to alcohol, because that's what I mean, that's in a way, alcohol in my system and drugs in my system cause an adverse reaction.
Yeah.
That is completely different from your average drinker.
I think it's safe to say an allergy.
It's definitely an allergy, and I have an allergic reaction to it, and the symptoms of that is I constantly need more.
Yeah.
But I love going to bars now. I can go to bars, I can go to games, I can go to concerts. There is nothing that I did drunk or high that I couldn't do now if I wanted to.
And it gives you just a better perspective and a better outlook about, I mean, even the time in which you know that you need to go home, because sometimes some of those things keep us out all night. So that is just so wise and just so intriguing.
Yeah.
I really, really love hearing that about you and hearing that about your past, and just knowing how far that these decisions, because everything in life is choices. We all have so many choices. We wake up every single day and there's already a choice for, how we're going to spend our morning, what we're going to have for breakfast, what we're going to do in the afternoon, if we're going to work out today. Right. So many choices. So the fact that you're able to always redirect to the healthiest choice possible for yourself, that is going to carry you to where you are headed in life, and that is LA. Casting. Being a casting director. It's just so profound. So thank you for sharing that with the audience.
Of course.
I want to know what you enjoy to do and what you enjoy to do to keep your mental health good, and keep that keep your brain, mind, body, and soul just very stabilized, your equilibrium stabilized.
Sure. So obviously when we work between 12 and sometimes 16, 17-hour days, long, grueling days a lot of the time, sometimes 6 days a week. So when I'm off, I sleep a lot because our schedules are so wonky. We could start going in at the beginning of the week at 6 a.m. and our call time at the end of the week could be, 5 p.m. So it's just back and forth. But for me, I really enjoy concerts. I love traveling when I can, especially the breaks between shows. A lot of us take trips. I just took a trip with my buddy Jesse to New York City to go see one of our fellow friends who is doing hair for a Broadway show. We did that. I love Vegas. I love going to California. Yeah. I love just traveling, going to see my family back home in Boston. And as far as day to day, I try to, give myself at least 30 minutes of just thought and meditation, whether it be journaling, whether it be listening to music or podcasts or whatever, to kind of center myself, for what's going on in my life. I'm a huge foodie. I love going out with friends and going out to eat and just hanging out and board game nights and movie nights and all of that. So, short term is movie nights and dinner with friends and all of that while we're working. And then we usually plan trips when we get a break to celebrate all the work.
Yeah. Well, I love that, the traveling and the trips is something that you place an immense amount of value on in your life, because I couldn't agree with you more. I think that immersing ourselves while we have the chance in other cultures is just one of the best things you can ever do, and you should do while you're young, or maybe not even while you're young, just while you have the chance in life to just see and experience. I mean, there's something so filling and feeding about that. And I love that you place value on sleeping when you're off, because our bodies definitely need
the sleep.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I also like that you combined, I always do this where I, classified journaling as a meditative practice.
Of course.
consuming healthy knowledge like podcasts, books, or just simply meditating and doing breath work. So that's so cool to see what you enjoy to do when you're off. I want to ask you if you could time travel back in time to meet any monumental public figure that has influenced you, who would it be?
This is very, very simple. Robin Williams.
Oh, yes.
For so many reasons.
Yes.
From his acting to his personal life to what he did. I don't know if you're aware of this, but Robin Williams made a point on every single film or TV production that he was working on that they had to hire between 30 and 40 local homeless people to work.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so that was written in his contract that they had to hire between 30 and 40 homeless people and employ them and give them, work while he worked there, which is huge. And his movies, some of his earlier movies with, Jumanji and Mrs. Doubtfire and Hook and all of these that I grew up on played a huge part in the reason why I wanted to get into film.
Yeah.
And he's a perfect example as well as of you don't really know what people are going through, and you just don't. And some of the nicest, most happiest people are the people that, we have to take some extra time on.
No, absolutely. And I mean, when I watched the documentary that was kind of going over the final days, final like year, months, weeks of his life, and his wife spoke in this documentary, it just was so crazy for me to see that contractually he was bound to, what was it, like Night at the Museum too?
Of course. Where
he had to keep, did you watch this documentary?
I did not.
Okay, I wish I could remember the name of it. It might have been like Final Days of something of the sorts. Okay. But it was just talking about how his condition was getting so severe to the point where he could only do like a line at a time. His cognitive function was severely declining, which ended up leading to his, end all be all. And it just was so heartbreaking to watch. Such a powerhouse of a man, such a good-hearted, soulful, household name.
Of course.
Like everybody knows Robin, and what happened is it definitely hits home for me as well, being that my father committed, and it's really weird. I mean, I remember a year prior to my dad committing, we were sitting at the beach, and it might have been a year or 2 years prior to him committing. I'm forgetting the timeline, but it was shortly after Robin had committed, and my dad was just like, I can't believe this. This just doesn't make sense to me. Like it doesn't. And it's so interesting that it can sometimes not exist in that person's realm of thought. In that moment until later, maybe they're going through something else. So yeah, what a beautiful man. And I'm so happy that his efforts and all of his hard work are still here with us on earth for us to consume and enjoy. And, thank you for doing his name justice by, even in telling me. I'm sure a lot of people don't know that he had that in his contract to hire local homeless people. So I really enjoy hearing that as well. I mean, he just was such an incredible man that cared for so many people. And, I feel like he could play a villain in a movie or someone just so terrible, but you could still see, like him. Yeah, and you could still see like love, purity, and light in his eyes. He just had such 100%. Gentle, calm, caring eyes. Yeah. He's incredible. Yes. Do you have any charities or foundations that mean a lot to you or you hope to one day become involved in, even if just to donate?
Sure. So for personal reasons, back at the height of my addiction, I stole a lot of money from a place that I worked at that had a charity, the Ronald McDonald House, actually. So back when I was 18 and I was using and stuff like that, I used to take money from that to buy my drugs. I've since paid them a decent amount of money, but basically, if anybody doesn't know, the Ronald McDonald House Charity is responsible for they pay for families to stay while their children get treatment for whether it be leukemia or tumors or cancer or whatever, and it definitely hits home for me that I want to give to them as much as I can whenever I'm able to. But yeah, that's it for me.
Well, that's amazing. And thank you so much for your transparency.
Of course.
think that really says a lot about where you are in, this stage of your life, that you're able to bring that amount of vulnerability to the table. That's just so cool. I think that charities and foundations are just such an incredible thing to feel passionate enough to donate to and give back to. So that's really cool that's more of it. It's such like a personal story for you. So I know that it's going to feed you more donating to them and giving back to them. That's just so cool. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
Now, before we close out, do you have anything that you would like to leave the guests with, whether that be a one-liner, a motivational quote that means a lot to you, something that your parents maybe said to you, a story? It can be anything. Whatever speaks to your heart. Okay.
So, because we were kind of just on the topic, if you're feeling a certain type of way and you're feeling alone and you're feeling depressed and you're feeling helpless and you're feeling like, you can't continue the way that things are, please reach out. There's plenty of different resources for whatever it may be. And on a personal level, if you or somebody else is looking for help regarding drug addiction and alcoholism, please reach out. This life is the most amazing thing that I could ever imagine. And giving up two things that I thought I loved the most has opened my eyes to an amazing world in which I love, and I wouldn't give it up for the world. So just know that there's help out there for you, and know that it's possible. I would not be where I am had I not given it up and had I not gotten the help that I needed. But yeah, I'm super happy to be here, and I'm so happy that you asked me to come on.
Yeah, I'm really happy that we did this. You have been such an incredible speaker and guest to have on. Your story is going to beyond inspire and motivate and, light a match under a bunch of butts all over the world to get moving and, cut any bad habits out that maybe are holding them back.
Life's too short.
Surround themselves with the right people, the right tools, the right resources. And I agree with what you said. Absolutely. If anyone out there is struggling, whether that be with suicidal thoughts, whether that be with drugs, alcohol, addiction issues, there are resources for you. You can go to my website, bloomybrain.com. And if you scroll to any of the pages all the way at the bottom, I do have the suicide prevention hotline number on each of those pages. And, just a simple Google for anything else maybe you're looking for. I don't know any addiction hotline numbers or anything else of the sorts off of the top of my head right now. But as Anthony stated, there is an abundance of help and people that want to help you out there. So definitely, new year, new mindset, new perspective. So thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, it was my pleasure. I enjoyed every moment of this, and I cannot wait to watch it and have you watch it and see what you think. So guys, if you enjoyed Anthony today, which I know that all of you did, he is such a cool person to follow and keep up with. Make sure you follow him on Instagram. It is at AnthonyPL97. Again, at AnthonyPL97. That way you guys can just keep up with his cool life and lifestyle and all that he's working on. And I know, I don't want to say what it is because I don't know if we're allowed to talk about it yet, but you have a very big project you're about to be on coming up. So
yes, we're excited.
Definitely going to want to keep up with him. Until next time, guys, thank you, Anthony, and stay bloomy brained.